What my parents took to the grave almost killed me. I returned to Waverly House a week after my parents' funeral. The house had stood alone at the edge of Carrion Hollow for nearly 80 years, wrapped in silence, blanketed by pine trees that never stopped whispering. Its windows were the eyes of a sleeping beast. I hadn't been back since I was 17, the night I ran away and never spoke to them again. My mother died from heart failure. My father followed 2 days later in his sleep. Some poetic symmetry in that, I guess. But grief didn't bring me back. It was the letter. A single envelope. No stamp. No return address. Come home. There's something you need to know. Something we couldn't tell you before. In the floor beneath your old room, you'll find the truth. Be careful who you trust. It was signed by my father. Dated the day before he died. The first night back, I didn't sleep. The house creaked like it was trying to speak through every warped floorboard. My old room was mostly intact. Faded posters, a cracked mirror, the mattress still holding the shape of my younger self. I waited until midnight to pry up the floorboards. What I found was a metal lockbox wrapped in canvas. Inside were 3 items: a cassette tape, a black and white photograph of my parents with a man I didn't recognize, and a journal. The tape was labeled July 12, 1997, 2 months after I was born. The journal opened with my mother's neat looping script. To our child, if you're reading this, it means the lie has caught up to us. There's no more time to explain in person. Everything we did was to protect you. But you must never trust Gabriel. If he finds out what you are, you'll never be free. I read the line 3 times. What I was? Who the hell was Gabriel? The tape offered no clearer answers. I had to dig out an old Walkman from the attic. The audio hissed and warbled, but the voices were unmistakable. My mother's, then my father's. Calm. Clinical. Like they were documenting an experiment. Subject 42 continues to show signs of accelerated empathy and cognitive resonance. Neural binding with surrogate family appears complete. No external anomalies detected. Memory suppression holding. Surrogate family. Memory suppression. My throat went dry. I shut the tape off and stared at the photo again. My parents. Smiling. Happy. And beside them, Gabriel. I remembered him suddenly. Not clearly, but as a sensation. Fear. Cold fingers. A scent of antiseptic. He used to visit when I was small, when I woke up screaming from dreams I couldn't remember. Then he disappeared. The next morning I drove into town. Carrion Hollow hadn't changed. Same crumbling diner. Same crooked library. And at the edge of town, the same ivy-covered facility. The Waverly Institute for Cognitive Advancement. It had shut down the year I left. My parents worked there for decades. Scientists, everyone said. Behavioral stuff. Brain experiments. Things no one really understood. Things no one questioned. Not in a town like this, where secrets live longer than people. I stopped by the diner. As I sipped burnt coffee, I spotted a familiar face at the counter. Lena Doyle. She was my best friend before I left. The only person I ever told about the dreams, the ones where I wasn't me. Where I watched through someone else's eyes. Where I knew things I couldn't possibly know. She approached my table slowly. You really came back. Only for a little while, I lied. She sat across from me. She looked tired, edges harder. But her eyes, they still searched mine like she was trying to pull something out. You look like him now, she said. Who? She hesitated. Gabriel. My stomach twisted. You knew him? Lena nodded. He was my uncle. We sat in silence for a minute before she reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Weathered, cracked, and labeled in red ink. Project Sycamore. I was cleaning out my mom's attic last year and found this. It's yours. I opened it. Files, notes, charts, photos. Me, as a toddler, covered in electrodes, surrounded by machines. One caption read, Subject 42 undergoing Phase 2 isolation trials. Dream migration confirmed. What is this? I asked, breath catching. Gabriel kept notes, she said. He said you were different, that you could touch minds, walk in dreams. They were trying to weaponize it. I felt like I'd been doused in cold water. She leaned closer. Your parents tried to stop it. They broke protocol, took you home, raised you as their own. But they were my parents. They weren't. The words hit like a slap. I stood. My legs felt numb. Why are you telling me this? Lena stared hard at me. Because he's not dead. Gabriel? She nodded. He's here, and he's looking for you. That night, I couldn't sleep. The tape, the journal, the photos. None of it felt real. But I remembered things now. Flashes, waking up in white rooms, people in masks, Gabriel whispering things in my ear while machines clicked and hissed. I remembered crying, and no one coming. I remembered Lena sitting across from me in a dream, holding a paper bird. I called her after midnight. Did they experiment on you too? She was quiet. No, but I saw you, in my dreams. When we were little, I thought I was going crazy. Why didn't you tell anyone? Because they would have taken me too. 2 days later, I found a photo in my father's study. It was hidden behind a false panel. In it, Gabriel stood in a lab coat, hand on my shoulder. I was maybe 5. Behind us on a whiteboard were the words, Cognitive Merge Echo Theory. I searched the house until I found the locked filing cabinet in the basement. I smashed it open with a crowbar. Inside were binders, dozens, all labeled Echo Data, Subject 42. The entries were clinical, unfeeling. Age 4, subject recited full passages of foreign text from observed dreams, no prior exposure, parental concern rising, memory dampeners increased. Age 9, subject ceased speaking for 43 days following death of dream-linked individual, unknown psychological mechanism, no physical trauma detected. Then one file, marked in red, sympathetic resonance triggered, full echo initiation imminent, subject will no longer distinguish internal from external reality. Intervention necessary. Sympathetic resonance triggered. Full echo initiation imminent. Subject will no longer distinguish internal from external reality. Intervention necessary. A sticky note was attached in my mother's handwriting. We have to stop this. He's becoming someone else, someone not himself. That night, I dreamed I was buried alive. I could feel dirt in my mouth, under my nails. I screamed, but no sound came. Then the coffin lid opened, and Gabriel stared down at me. You're not a boy. You're a window. And windows are meant to be looked through. I woke gasping, drenched in sweat. A knock came at the door. It was Lena. She looked shaken. He came to my house, Gabriel, asked if I'd seen you. My pulse spiked. What did you tell him? Nothing, but he's watching you. He knows you found the files. We sat in silence until she finally said, There's something else, something I didn't tell you. I turned to her. You weren't the only subject. There were others, children. I found a list, 25 names, only 3 survived. She handed me the paper. My name was first. Hers was second. I stared. You said they never experimented on you. I lied. The next night, we broke into the abandoned Waverly Institute. It reeked of mold and secrets. The walls were peeled and brittle, but the elevator still worked. Lena led me to the sublevel, B3, sealed off since the fire 20 years ago. We stepped into a hallway lined with cells. In each, a name etched in rusted plaques. Subject 19. Subject 21. Subject 24. And at the end, an empty room. Inside, a large chair, bristling with wires and tubes. A monitor flickered weakly in the dark. A console nearby hummed to life when I touched it. A message blinked. Insert data drive to begin merge protocol. Lena turned pale. This is where they did it. The echo merge. They tried to make people into psychic conduits. I looked at the console, my hands trembled. I think it's still active. That's when Gabriel stepped into the doorway. He hadn't aged. Same ice-gray eyes, same surgical calm. I was hoping you'd come here, he said. I stepped in front of Lena. You killed them. He smiled faintly. No, they killed themselves. Guilt will do that. Lena moved toward the console, trying to hide the files. Gabriel raised a small remote and pressed a button. She froze mid-step. Collapsed. No! I lunged, but he was faster. He slammed me into the wall and whispered, You don't understand what you are, but I do. You're the only stable link, the only successful bridge between waking and dream. My head rang. You're not a person, you're a vessel, and tonight we finish the experiment. He dragged me toward the chair. My body was limp. I couldn't move. I saw Lena twitching on the floor, trying to scream. I was strapped in. A helmet lowered. Gabriel pressed a button. Pain exploded behind my eyes. The world turned inside out. I saw everything. Children, experiments, my parents, Gabriel's twisted pride, Lena's memories, my memories, the dead, the dying, the other subjects, and what they became. I saw myself not as a person, but a collection of borrowed thoughts. Then I saw Lena, standing in the dream. She reached out and said, You choose who you are, not them. I grabbed her hand and screamed. I woke on the floor. The chair was destroyed. Sparks flew from the console. Gabriel lay beside it, dead, burned from the inside out. Lena stood over me, bleeding from her nose. You pulled me in, she said. I don't know how, but you fought him from inside. I couldn't speak, I just nodded. We left the institute before the fire consumed it. Again. It's been 6 months. Lena and I moved north, changed names, new lives. The dreams still come, but now I know which ones are mine. And every night I choose to wake up. I am not a project, not a subject, not an echo. I am the silence beneath the floorboards, and I have finally learned how to scream.